Hello and welcome. My name is Peace Mitchell and I'm co-founder of Women Changing the World Press. I'm so excited to be launching our new book, Authenticity and Action. But before we begin, I would like to pay my respects to the traditional owners and the elders of the land that I live and work on, the people of Mamu country in North Queensland. And I'd also like to pay my respects to traditional owners and elders, past and present, right across Australia and the Torres Strait. I'm so excited today to be talking about our new book, Authenticity and Action. And I am honored and delighted to have one of our authors joining me today. Please join me on stage, Anna.
Good morning, Peace. Good morning from sunny Tbilisi. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, it's so wonderful to have you here, Anna. For people who haven't met you before, I would love you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about you and the work that you do.
Of course. My name is Anna Abesadze. I currently serve as an advisor to the rector and lecturer at Grigorov Bakidze University. I'm also a global governance coordinator at World Vision International. And I'm proud to say that I'm a co-author of the book, London published book, Authenticity and Action, and New York published book, Women Living Fearlessly. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to do so. I had an opportunity to study and work in 5 different countries. And along the way, I was honored with different awards. One of them were from Women Changing the World, the Leader of the Year. I was also named as the Woman Changemaker of the Year by JUICE Foundation. I had a great honor to receive the Volunteerism Award from Barack Obama and the Host Country Hero by Peace Corps. I had a privilege to be an agent of change through my work and now through writing, which is a great honor. And I want to thank you, Peace, and your team for doing amazing work and for letting the women be authentic in the ways what they do, and to make the change and make a broader impact.
You're incredible, Anna. You're incredible. Thank you so much. Now, your chapter that you wrote about is called The Roadmap to Becoming an International Professional. Can you tell us a bit about why you chose this topic to write about?
Correct, yes. This time I was really thinking what I wanted to share with audience, and the reason why I chose to focus on this topic was I wanted to make change through my writing, and I wanted the readers to take something from this chapter. And when I asked myself if I were the reader, what I would want to do, especially for those young women or for those young people just in general who want to become international professionals, it would be I think they would save time. And as a young professional who really wanted to become the international professional, I think I would have loved to read it, because I would have spent a lot of effort, a lot of energy, and it would save me years of trial. So I decided that I have this experience in 5 different countries, and maybe a lot of people, especially those people who want to go on a global stage and make a broader impact, they would really benefit from this chapter.
I love that so much. There are so many people out there who do dream of doing bigger things with their life and having a global impact. But I know that there are people who are held back sometimes from following their dreams. What are some of those reasons that people aren't taking action on going global and having a bigger impact in the world?
There are a lot of reasons, Peace. I think from my experience, and what I shared it also in my previous book that I co-authored, was one of the big reasons was the imposter syndrome, because I didn't believe in myself and I doubted myself. And I know a lot of women, especially because in their societies, because of the systemic, societal, cultural pressure, and they are they cannot really share their vision, or they are limited to their vision. And I think we have to really encourage the women with the work that you do, because sometimes we cannot really think what we really can, and until we are pressured to do so, we cannot see the power. And I think this is the book, that's the Authenticity and Action, is all about that, being authentic in what you do, being courageous to do what you truly wanted, because at the end of their lives we regret what we didn't do. And I think it's not about how perfectly we lived, but how authentically we did. So I think I really admire the work that you do, and I mean, in my example also shows the same, that if I didn't have these opportunities along the way, I didn't know I could write at all. So I think having people who believe in you is one of the keys. But also, the first person who believes in ourselves should be ourselves. And I think when you start believing in yourself, then you see the world different. You see your opportunities differently, and I think that's the key from my experience.
Yes, I love that. We have to believe in ourselves first before we can expect others to believe in us as well. So in your chapter, you outline the steps for how to do it, how to become an international professional. Can you take us through some of those steps for somebody out there who might be wanting to take those steps for the first time?
Yeah, of course. I have 3 steps that I defined in my chapter, and I discussed and share my examples as well. The first one is to have a clear and authentic vision. It's very important, because if you don't have it, then the next steps do not make sense. And what I mean in having a clear vision, it's about knowing what you want clearly and why you want it. And knowing what you want clearly is very important, because if you don't know where you're going, you cannot define the objectives, how to get there. So if I don't know if I'm going to London, and if I take the flight to Paris, I'll go to Paris, right? So you have to know exactly where you're going, and then you define the small objectives to get to the bigger goal according to that. And why you want it is not less important, because we sometimes like some professions, some heads that people are playing with on other people, but it's not our own path. For example, I may like someone to be a diplomat, but it might not be my path. And it's really important to define what we want authentically, because if we achieve that and we are not happy, then it won't matter. So that's why I talk about knowing your why gives you motivation every day, because there will be days to achieve your goal takes a lot of work, a lot of hard work. Sometimes it may be boring. The daily routines are sometimes very boring. But whenever you know your why, it gives you motivation. And your motivation goes up and down, but you will always have the motivation if your why is very strong. So from my experience, I always, when I was a high school student, I come from a small town in the West Georgia. And there were organizations that did a lot of projects. And I think that those projects really had a huge impact on me and my classmates and my friends. And I always wanted to work for either international organization or on projects that would make an impact. And I think for me, becoming an international professional was an opportunity, the key to make a bigger impact on an international stage. And that's why I define, and I'm not saying that in a small town or in a small country, you cannot be an agent of change. You can be agent of change anywhere. But sometimes the political, societal, and systemic constraints suppress our ability to act within our vision. And I feel that on the global stage, you can thrive. Your creativity can thrive. And I have an example of Oprah Winfrey in my book, in my chapter, where I discussed that she was the person who didn't only break the barriers, but she redefined them. And because she became a global icon, she could do so many things. She could be an agent of change and use that tool to do good. And it's doing the good is not only, and I don't only mean either becoming the famous, and I'm not talking about those benefits. I'm talking about leaving the legacy behind that will matter. And for those who had this hunger inside, they would know that it's not a passing thought. You're sleeping with it before when you stay alone with yourself. There are these voices that tells you that there is time is now. Time is we don't have time, like indefinite time. So you have to make the impact now. So I really think that the first is very important, to have a clear and authentic vision. But then when you have the clear and authentic vision, it's very important to build the global competence. And I'm not only telling you to be the professional in your profession and have the technical knowledge, but you have to improve your language skills, also cultural intelligence, to be able to interact with people from different cultures and from different ethnicities effectively. And this is not less important. So what I did in my case was I used every holiday from the university to go and do international projects, because it wasn't only the technical knowledge I was gaining, but it was the cultural intelligence that I was getting, and knowing people from other parts of the world. And where should we start? There may be the question. And from me, I looked up the people who I admire and where I wanted to go. And then I mapped out my own. In my case, it was setting a 10-year plan, and in doing my bachelor's, master's, improving my language skills, and also making sure that I got the networks and the cultural intelligence. And it wasn't easy. And I know that either studying or working abroad sometimes require financial resources as well. But there is a good news that I never, spent anything on that. Because there are a lot of programs that we can benefit from. I was a scholar 2 times, once for the US Department of State and then the European Commission. So I didn't really pay anything, but I really worked hard, because, for example, when I wanted to go to the United States, I had to try three times or 3 years, and I had to stay consistent. And networks are not less important, because when 2 people from different institutions are willing to make the change, this collaboration can be very, very powerful. And I have a lot of examples of that. And third, last but not least, is something that I always questioned. Why are not those, people with red diplomas and academic excellence are not always successful? And we see those other people who are successful, but not necessarily the ones who are with honor rolls and big academic excellence. So I started to question myself. I researched, I observed people, and from my experience, I think, and what also Harvard Business Review confirms, is the term that's called grit. And what is grit? It is the blend of passion and perseverance. Because this, red diploma and straight A's can predict success, but it doesn't guarantee it. And for me, what guarantees this is that grit. You have to be persistent what you're doing. You have to be consistent and disciplined, but it's not for a week, for a month, for a year. For me, it was 10 years. Because I know sometimes you might seem boring. It's a consistent everyday work on the language, on anything. But it's part of going, there is the star, the northern star, that your goal, where you're going, and you have to work towards that. And it's not easy. Motivation may go down, and that's why I'm saying you have to know what you want exactly. And because when your why is strong, then your motivation is up. And there are a lot of examples of like around me, people who were either not, had straight A's, or but they had the perseverance and they had the enthusiasm that they never lost. They worked for it. And I think that's when we question ourselves, and when we just say, oh, this person, was so talented, what happened to her or what happened to him? Because they hadn't thought, I think, enough for their dreams. And being consistent, being perseverant and persistent and resilient and willing is very important. And I think this can be more important than the academic grades that you have.
Yes, absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly. You can have all of the talent, but if you don't get stuck in and do that hard work and be persistent and keep trying, then you won't necessarily have the success. And I love in your chapter you talk about failure. Can you just share a bit about your thoughts on failure? Because it's not always easy.
Correct. I think failures and setbacks should be taken as the opportunity for growth. And for me, I'm sharing the example that I really, really wanted to become a scholar of U.S. Department of State. It would give me the scholarship to study in the United States during my high school, and it was my dream to do so. But the thing was, during the 17 years, nobody won the program from my hometown. So everybody was feeling, I wouldn't say pessimistic, but they didn't really believe that it would happen. I tried three times. First year, I didn't make it to the first round. Second time, I made it through 3 rounds, but I became the reserve candidate, which meant that if someone else said no, I would go. And the third time, I became the winner. And this is the persistence I'm talking about, because I didn't take the failures as, the failure, but I took it as an opportunity to go forward, to move forward towards the dream that I wanted to achieve. And for that, I was exercising. I remember one summer, I was thinking about this flex program every day, every morning and every evening. I would sit down, and I was probably 17 or 16 years old, and I would practice, the tests and those solution, problems and the essays they had. So I was really working hard, and it wasn't easy. It wasn't interesting, but I knew that this was needed to go there. And I used those small, attempts to go there and as an opportunity to know what was in the test. And I used it for the next victory when I won it. So I think to know, to use the opportunity to growth is very important, because as Thomas Edison famously said, I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. And this amazing person worked so hard for the success, because he, I think, has 1,093 inventions, and only 4 are famous. So when we achieve success sometimes, and we share it, of course, on social media, or other people hear about it, but we don't share the failures. I mean, we don't post on the Facebook, oh, I didn't get the job, I failed the test. So we only share the success, and people sometimes think that there is nothing behind that. But there is the, I would say, lessons that, and not the failures, but the lessons behind that you should learn from, and not to take it as the failure.
I love that. So inspiring. Well, thank you so much, Anna. It's just been an absolute delight chatting with you today and hearing more about your chapter. Everybody, I would love you to grab your copies of Authenticity and Action. You can pre-order copies now at wcwpress.com. Thanks again for being here, Anna.
Thank you so much, Chris. Thanks to your team, and thanks for letting us be authentic versions of ourselves, to be the agent of change. This is greatly appreciated, and thank you for the global impact that you're making.
Thank you for everything you're doing too, Anna. It's so inspiring. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Goodbye.